Well, hello, Sherry. It's that time of the year again. And Sherry's here from the Women's Freedom Center to tell us about a great event that is taking place very soon in our beautiful town.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Maria. Yes, we are looking forward to the 27th Annual Women's Film Festival happening from March 9th through the 25th at the New England Youth Theater in Brattleboro.
Fantastic. Well, tell us a little bit about the movies, the films that we are going to enjoy at the Women's Festival.
Absolutely. So people may be aware that this festival is one of the biggest and most popular fundraisers for the Women's Freedom Center, the Domestic and Sexual Violence Resource Organization for Windham and Southern Windsor counties. And it's actually the longest running women's film festival in New England. And this year we've grown by a week. So we have over 50 amazing films made by women from around the world. And this is really just top-notch entertainment, history lessons, documentaries. It really spans the whole gamut. And a lot of the films that we've shown over the years right here in Brattleboro have later gone on to receive awards and international acclaim. So these are, for those of us who aren't able to get to Sundance, this is the caliber of cinema that's available right here in Brattleboro.
Wonderful, Sherry. And I'm going to thank you for being such a great force behind this festival. And, tell us more about the films.
Well, so the fun begins actually opening night, Friday, March 9th from 7 to 10 p.m. And we invite people to come dressed, if they want to, as their favorite revolutionary from history or just dressed as their spirited selves. No costumes required. But we start with a wonderful reception of champagne, wine, hors d'oeuvres, and then a screening of the film Left on Pearl. And this is about a bold but little-known event in women's fight for liberation. The 1971 protest and takeover of a Harvard building by hundreds of Boston women demanding a women's center and low-income housing. And the film is titled Left on Pearl because that was the decision made during this protest march, as they would take this turn onto the Harvard campus. And their 10-day occupation was one of the few such takeovers ever by women for women. It led directly to the longest continuously operating women's center in the U.S., which is pretty amazing. And some of the wonderful foremothers of this movement are actually going to be joining us for that night. So it should be just a wonderful, spirited kickoff to the whole 3 weeks of films.
Well, congratulations, because going for one more week is a great situation for the film festival. Imagine how many more films we're going to enjoy because of the length. Is fantastic. Well, I'm so way up there with this because I love films, and we have a great crowd here in Brattleboro, in the surrounding towns, and even Massachusetts and New Hampshire that come for the festival every year.
Yeah, absolutely. We welcome that too. As we say, the film festival has no borders. So we get people coming from Keene and New Hampshire. We have media covering it from New Hampshire. We get folks from Western Mass, as far away as Boston. This festival is really a gem in southern Vermont, and people come from all over. And one of the reasons, obviously the film festival is a fundraiser, but it's also, it has existed all these years to help shift norms in our culture, to raise awareness, also to raise spirits here, the tail end of winter, a great way to treat ourselves to some of these amazing movies. But in terms of the social justice component of why we have this festival, Festival every year. It's really to give a platform for these amazing female filmmakers who in mainstream Hollywood culture are not getting a chance to show their wonderful stories.
Exactly. And it's happening forever and ever. It started a little bit to change, but it took so long, and it took abuse from a very wealthy and one of those people that have the power to do something terrible for women to be finally recognized for their talents.
Yep, you got it. You got it.
It's so sad, but that's the way it works. So I'm very glad that more people are becoming aware of there's women there making films, directing, acting with great talents that haven't been recognized for so long.
Yep, I think, and spot on, really. There's so much that is being revealed on so many levels about Hollywood, and Hollywood is really such a template. What Hollywood puts out into the culture, not just American culture, but world culture, it's such a defining force in the world, film. And what a lot of people, even people that are social justice minded, what we often don't know is that really for all the progress women have made and humans have made, women still account for only about 7% of all the films that we see every year and export around the world, which means that, every year roughly 93% of the films made and funded are made by straight white men. And that's our task here, really, first of all, is to take a look at the impact that has, that only such a narrow segment of the population is getting their stories told. It really ripples out through the whole culture, right? So not to mention the kind of sexual, harassment and abuse that's happening in Hollywood workplaces and every other workplace, as we're seeing with Me Too. But looking at what is the impact of women not getting access to those kinds of jobs. And the most significant thing to keep in mind is that it's not a shortage of female filmmakers. Women are graduating from film schools in almost equal numbers as men and have for years. The problem actually of squeezing them out of access and funding happens after that, right? So they come out of film school with all their wonderful ideas and talent and energy to do this work, and they're not given the chance. And no access, right? It's and so this is more than just sort of affirmative action in the workplace. They absolutely, women have a right to tell their own stories, of course. So in terms of the workplace, that's significant in working in Hollywood, but everything that happens after that is also changed because of the very gendered lens that we're still getting. There have been there's so much data out now on the film industry. To date, 2018, still only about 11% of leading characters in films are female. In male-made films, 11%, right? 100 years ago, women actually had more input in the film industry than we do today. Back then, they were able to wear all of the different hats, being producers, directors, early screenwriters were actually all women, so the creative content came from their perspective. But as the student, this was when it was still such a maverick young industry, but as soon as it went from independent distributors to larger studios and they consolidated, they really kind of masculinized that industry, and women's early Hollywood history and contributions just began to be erased and forgotten. Last year, for instance, again, 7% of directors were female. 100 years before that, 1917, guess what? 7% of directors were female. So in 100 years, nothing has changed in that regard. And that's enormous, right? There also was a recent study that found that if women, first of all, less than a third of speaking roles in male-made films, less than a third of the speaking roles actually go to women. And those aren't necessarily huge speaking roles, just even a few lines. But of those characters with speaking roles, in a male-made film, they're about 4 times more likely to be hypersexualized than in films made by women. So the entire content is different when it comes from a female director's lens.
So I think it's very important that the Women's Film Festival showcases women filmmakers, screenwriters, producers, directors who continue to be ignored by the major film distributors and theaters all over the country.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole power structure impacts them. And, the bottom line is we have this film festival every year because they're phenomenal films. And we all deserve art that matters. And we always encourage male allies and folks of all genders to come. They're absolutely welcome in the audience here. And it's a great chance to show solidarity with the women and girls in your life, with women and girls in the world, to come and support these filmmakers. Because, as we all know, women make up half the planet and half the audience for all the films we usually see made by men. So the only reason this is a women's film festival is that that's who's behind the camera for a change, _change. But everyone's welcome in the audience, right?
That's great.
Yeah, and we're really we're thrilled to be starting the festival off with this revolution theme because, as we all know, amazing things are sort of coming to light and being spoken now that have been kept under wraps for forever, really, for centuries, right? And so even in just the most recent few months, Me Too began in October. And when we look at the impact that that's had, over 85 countries, hundreds of thousands are coming forward. And again, not just women. People of all genders may get sexually harassed, but overwhelmingly, some of the, all of the studies point to men in power, perpetrating a number of these different kinds of oppressions, whether it's actually in terms of sexual harassment or abuse, or actually keeping women filmmakers from having equal opportunity to make films.
Thank you, Sherry. That's wonderful. So, how many countries are represented in the women's film?
That's a fabulous question, Maria. And you know what? I don't know. I don't have the count on that. People can take a look, though. This is one thing that's always wonderful. I know BCTV is going to be playing a trailer. You get a snippet of almost all of the films. So over the next 3 weeks of the festival, you all will be running that. We thank you so much for that. Folks can also take a look and read more about all the films, get the schedule, watch the trailers on our website, and that's womensfilmfestival.org. Again, you can buy tickets online. You can call our office. You can show up at the door. We do sometimes sell out, so it can be helpful to get tickets in advance. But for the most part, people should be able to even come to the door. And again, the entire thing from our opening night gala and all the films for all 3 weekends are going to all be at the New England Youth Theater. And if people do have questions about any of the films or, does this feel appropriate to bring my teenager or any questions, they're certainly welcome to call us on our office line, which is 257-7364, and we'll happily chat with them too if that's helpful.
And another question, Sherry, for those who still asking the question of why men are not included in this film festival.
Why we still have a film festival for women directors? Yeah, we are still asked that question from time to time. And again, we go back to saying, look at what the rest of the film landscape looks like around the world, right? Here for 3 weeks, we have a women's film festival, but for all the other 49 weeks a year and every movie theater everywhere, it's essentially primarily a men's film festival, right? All of media, that whole landscape is incredibly gendered. If we look at 7% versus 93%. So what's astonishing is that people still ask us the question and feel like, why do you still have that? And I think it's because even well-meaning people, unless we sit through all the credits at the end of films, we might easily not know that it's still this bad because we have as humans, made a lot of progress, and as women and girls made a lot of progress, right? And every generation, there are more male allies in this movement, and they do awesome work, necessary work. But we still have a long way to go, and we need to be able to name that. And again, everyone is welcome to the festival. And it's these films, when we say that they're made by women, about women's lives, they're about every subject that affects human beings, meaning all of us, right? So they're inspiration for everyone. Just some of the themes this year are, there are stories about friendship, art, activism, history, sports, religion, motherhood, romance, so much more, right? Everyone actually can be inspired by these films, and there's a range of emotions too. We have, as folks will see, some fantastic documentaries, and these are history lessons that we all still need. But then there's also, wonderful, fun movies. A couple of them in particular. There's a film called Divine Order. Love this film. For anybody who enjoyed fried green tomatoes, I highly recommend you check this film out. There's a documentary, but it is such a high voltage film. It's called La Chana, and it introduces us to this very talented gypsy flamenco dancer. And just the dancing alone, it really is electric. People are going to be tapping their feet to that. So even though, some of the films are still about women's challenges around the world and some of the harder topics, for a very good reason, we mix it up every year. We want people to come away feeling inspired by the films. And these are, they're role models for all of us of whatever gender, right? These are strong, spirited people, I would say, women. And that's one of the beauties of having women filmmakers being able to call the shots here, is they're presenting more just three-dimensional characters than we typically see. And so not only are the filmmakers trailblazers still because of where we still are in the film industry, but they are telling the stories of other trailblazing women. And these are, again, history lessons we often don't get. One particular film that I would love to just have folks take a look at and join us for, it actually happens the second Friday of the festival. And if anybody saw the Golden Globes, they might remember Oprah's speech where she talked about the Me Too movement. And she said that Recy Taylor is a name we should all know. And we couldn't agree more. We are presenting a documentary called The Rape of Recy Taylor. And it really provides historic context to our present moment. It shines a light on a common reality for Black women in the Jim Crow South, and that was racially motivated rape by white men. And the subject here is obviously sobering, but the film itself is incredibly sensitive and deeply respectful, and it highlights the brilliant resistance work of Black activists of the time, especially women whose stories we often don't hear. And among them is a fearless young investigator named Rosa Parks. So this is just a phenomenal film in its own right, but especially given our current time, well worth seeing. And we're going to follow that film with a conversation with advocates and any members of the audience that want to stick around. So there is so much in this film festival. Really, everyone can take a look and find at least a handful of films that might really speak directly to them.
Sherry, that's fantastic, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
To the Women's Freedom Center and to all of you hard workers that are bringing to us this fantastic, empowering film festival, and also to all the volunteers. And by the way, if you want to volunteer, and I think that is still time because it's 3 weeks ahead. Mm-hmm. And would you tell us how to contact you in case that somebody wants to volunteer?
Yeah, thank you for remembering that, Maria. Absolutely. I believe we are still looking for volunteers for different parts of the festival. The easiest thing is just to give our office a call directly during the week. And the office number, again, is 257-7364. And again, we're not answering that on the weekends, but during the week you can call to still volunteer for some future films. So yeah, thanks so much for remembering to add that.
Well, thank you, Sherry. If Is there anything else you want to add? Tell us, remind us again the date.
The dates are March 9th through the 25th, again at the New England Youth Theater in Brattleboro. And I would just say, whether people need a break from winter or just from the day's news, just know you're not alone, and there really is a world-class remedy coming to a theater near you, and that is the New England Youth Theater in Brattleboro. So we welcome everyone to this festival. And Maria, again, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you for coming by. You here? Come to see the films. I hope to have a lot of people from the youth part of the population. And I'm sure there's many films that are appropriate for younger people.
Yeah, and one more time, that's a good prompt for a reminder. People can take a look at the trailers for the film festival and find all kinds of information on there. And again, that's womensfilmfestival.org.
Thank you, Sherry, and the best to you all. And thank you again for being such a great, powerful force in this town. The Women's Freedom Center is a great place for not only people who need help in many ways, but for also educate themselves.
Thank you, Maria.
Well, thank you, and the best to you.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to see the films.
Great.
Okay, and don't forget that after this conversation, we're going to have the trailers for all the films.
Great.
အားထုတ်ရင်းနဲ့တမာတိအားရလာတဲ့အခါပေါ့နော်
ရှင်နေတဲ့မှာမိဘတွေကတော့မဟုတ်ခိုင်းဘူးဆရာလေးကိုလည်းမိန်းကလေးလေးတယောက်တည်းဆိုတော့အမေကမဟုတ်ခိုင်းစေခြင်းပေါ့အဖေလည်းမဟုတ်ခိုင်းစေခြင်း
ယောက်ျားလေးကိစ္စဆိုတာဒီလက်ရှင်ဘဝမှာထိန်းသားခက်ဆုံးပဲပေါ့နော်ရုပ်ပြက်တယ်လေအဲ့ဒါကြတော့အများဆုံးစက္ကွန်20နဲ့15ကြားမှာအများဆုံးဖြစ်တတ်ပါတယ်အခုလိုပေါ့နော်အခုဒီယောက်ျားလေးတွေနဲ့ရှုပ်ရှက်ဖြစ်ရင်နင်ထုတ်တယ် တော့လောဘကတော့ငကိုကလေးနည်းနည်းအနေပါတယ်ဒေါသအရင်ကြီးတယ်ဆက်လေးရဲ့
သူနဲ့ဆိုင်တင်တဲ့ရှင်ပေါ်မှာအေဂျင့်တာမှန်ပါတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့လည်းပုထုဇဉ်တွေပဲရှိသေးတယ်လေ
You live with it all your life, and you can never forget. I would catch myself laughing. I felt guilty. When they found us, they came with German shepherds, and those dogs sniffed us out. So I keep myself always busy, and this helps me not to think so much about it, what I went through. Hi, how are you? Okay.
32.
Got it. Okay, Fred.
To survive, especially at this mall, all these years is a miracle in itself because everything upstairs is closed.
Let Mama sit. That's perfect.
Teenagers are really hard to reach now.
If I reach one heart, I accomplish something.
She made me want to change things, the way things are. She made me want to make an impact on the world.
The shop closing concerns me because she has such a drive to go every day.
It takes people who've been through something to reach people who are going through something.
I just want to thank you.
That's okay. That's okay.
Appreciate it.
One person has the power to impact one person, and it's a huge chain reaction.
I really tried my best to protect them. There are some things I didn't want them to know.
The hard part is watching your mother relive these moments and then watching her pain.
It touches me so deeply when I hear and I see denying that never happened, and the hate is still growing. Speaking up is not enough.
It is a very scary time in the United States right now for a woman to become pregnant.
Every aspect is now being subject to state punishment, control, and surveillance.
There's 3 officers. They wanted to know if I had an unlawful miscarriage.
He's getting out the handcuffs. You have a warrant for your arrest.
She was still bleeding from having the baby.
We have to say that life begins at conception.
Who speaks for the baby?
We've been passing laws in state after state, and they think they're going to waltz in and just repeal them? It's not going to happen.
The anti-choice movements, they have moved into positions of power.
We did not see the onslaught that was coming.
The last time this country dealt with an issue of this dynamic, we shot each other to doll rags on the Civil War battlefield.
A law had passed. It would be illegal to induce my pregnancy.
I could have lost my love of my life. It was 10 days of torture.
She didn't sign anything. What's going on here? How can they just be rolling her down the hallway into the operating room?
The state has the right to intervene in a woman's life from the second she becomes pregnant. That's an intrusion in the life of an individual that should shock every true conservative in this country.
2 to 3 women will die every day in the United States from pregnancy-related complications.
In some states, it's safer for a woman to go and give birth in a developing country.
I didn't want to have any more children. I had asked my doctor, can we go ahead and get my tubes tied? I was told no.
There's a lot of people who just simply have no idea how horrific it has been.
If we don't step in, all of these dominoes are going to come down together.
With my car and all my collections in it, I got a right to my own suspicions. As ours are this sea's beginnings. It's your call, it's all I've got is giving, and the fault is mine.
I look at you two and I think how great it must be to have someone that just gets you. Sisters are special. You have someone to be different with.
Girl gang. Girl gang. Boop.
This kind of serial killer has a very manipulative personality, and one of the things that gives the kind of great high to the stalking and killing is the power that you exert over.
I do know about Ted Bundy, and all I can say is, yay, it's way past due.
I think he's a mass murderer, and I'm very delighted that they're going to execute him tomorrow, hopefully.
That city used to be a town where you didn't lock your doors and you taught your children to speak to everybody, and it's not that way anymore.
He's just killed too many people, and his death is going to be easy compared to theirs.
Burn Bundy on 3. 1, 2, 3. Burn Bundy!
Can we get one just for the girls?
As Pakistan's #1 ranked women's squash player, Maria comes from South Waziristan, the home of the Taliban.
Where I come from, the tribal areas, girls were not allowed to play sports. I used to dress up like boys. I wanted to play outside freely, so I took all my girly dresses and burned them. My dad says, oh, this is my son and I want him to play some sports. Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan came after me. So I had to stop playing squash. That was the time only.
From 16 to 19, she was basically locked in her room.
And I started sending emails every day.
Eventually, I got her over to Canada. There was no way that she was going to sit in a room in Pakistan and wait.
I'm here for squash.
5, 6, 7.
I'm very nervous about my family. I'm gonna go back. We were instructed that you should be careful, watch your movement, don't go to tribal areas. We am in the spotlight, and that is scary for me. I know the higher we go, the higher we achieve, the more the risk is gonna be. If Taliban catch me while playing squash, what will happen? We'll see whatever happens. I want to feel free while playing in Pakistan. Our bravery is in educating women, respecting women, empowering women. You're born free and you have to live free.
Ne sanoo, että se on jotenkin sellainen vauvamasta ja jotenkin, että se on jotenkin noloa.
Liikunta, sitten kädentaidot kehittyy, kun tekee keppareita YM. Koordinaatio erilaisissa koulutusliikkeissä ja tälleen. Kavereiden kanssa.
Joo, no kyllähän mä siitä aika lailla ylpeä on, että on tosi siistiä, että ihmiset on silloin aikoinaan inspiroitunut musta ja on niinku vähän silleen kehittänyt harrastusta siihen suuntaan, mitä mä oon niinku ajatellut, että millä se olisi hienoa olla.
Mä haluan vähän niin kuin jakaa omat taitoni joillekin muille ennen kuin mä itse lopetan. Vaikka otetaan vaikka Nelli, niin siinä on jotain, niin kuin missä se on hyvä, mutta se ei vaan itse usko siihen. Ja sitten mä yritän saada sen näkyviin, että mitä se osaa. Ja sitten se vaan alkaa uskoa siihen.
Hidasta. Loistavaa, hyvä näin!
Tosi moni on sanonut mulle, että oh my god, mä oikeasti kehityn tässä. Milloin tuut uudelleen?
Hyvä!
Mitä sun askeleet on niin liidokkaat?
Mä oon vaan treenannut niin paljon.
Mun vanhemmat eros 2006, mutta mä en oikeastaan muista mitään siitä niinku 2006-2011. Mä en niinku muista mitään muuta, paitsi kepparit ja sitten roosan jonkun verran.
Elämässä on vaikeita ja helppoja hetkiä, ja nämä ei ole ehkä niitä mun helpompia hetkiä tällä hetkellä, mutta niiden yli pitää vaan hypätä.
Mom, you need to get back in the game. Have you ever thought about online dating?
I am not ready for it.
Coffee?
Yes, please.
I can't drink coffee myself. I have acid reflux.
Darkest secret.
Why would I tell my darkest secret?
Okay.
Lucy!
Hi, how are you? Fine, thank you. Check rear view. Check side view.
Overwhelmed the night.
Hi, how are you?
Attempt to control the spread. Update now on what we currently know.
Hi, how are you? Fine, thank you. Stay. Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you?
Hätte sich ja verabreden können. Hätte ja
Mit
noch
wem
einer
denn?
Mittel, weiß ich nicht. Wer muss noch laufen? Luzi?
Nee.
Ne?
Nee.
Franzi?
Nee.
Keiner muss laufen?
Nö.
Nur
Nur
du?
ich. Ich bin Außenseiter. Ich hab mein
Quatsch. Wo bist denn du
Lucia hat vorhin sogar schon zu mir gesagt, sie glaubt, dass ich morgen noch laufen muss bei einem Wettkampf, also dass ich noch abnehmen muss.
Das ist ja motivierend. Super.
Naja, ich habe zu ihr gesagt, ich glaube nicht. Ich habe gesagt, ich glaube an mich.
Ja.
Aber ich weiß gar nicht, wie ich das machen soll, wenn Herr Kutte da was sagt, vor dem Schlafen soll ich 700 noch haben. Ich nehme doch never ever 700 auf der ganzen über Nacht und über die Fahrt ab und so lange schlafe ich ja nicht. Wenn ich um 3 Stunden hier aufstehe.
Ich kann es dir nicht sagen. Wenn du nichts isst, kannst du ja nichts zunehmen.
Dobro, ti nikad nije došao do kraja što je ključ.
Ne,
A šta je s druge strane tu bilo, si znala?
ne. Za mene to nikad nije bio jedan stan. Mi smo znali da smo mi za njih nepouzdana porodica. Ja nisam sigurna da li su oni nas špijunirali i to posle prijavljivali.
Ali tu ste mogli da im čujete glasove.
Da.
I da nikad nisi razmišljala da će s komunizam završiti?
Ne. Ti ne znaš kako rat počne. Samo građanski dok ne počne. Ja pripadam onima koji misle da u ovoj zemlji treba živjeti po svaku cenu. Sanjam da je ovo postala zemlja mira i demokratije. Da sam znao bolje ispriju na satu da bi su sve revolucije ne raspole.
Eto ti diktatura iznova.
To je ono čemu se treba suprotstaviti.
Ova zemlja nije normalna. Da, jer u ovoj zemlji se ne može živjeti, a?
Ako to neko mora da menja, mora menja neke svoje generacije.
Ovo, ja ne mogu.
Tvoje opredeljenje, neko će morati.
Hi, my name is Jesselyn Silva. Yeah, that's my name. Being a girl in boxing is harder than being a boy, because when you're in the amateur level of boxing, there's not many girls around the world.
Having a female child that boxes, that's something that crosses my head. What if she wants to become pro? Will it pay off? Tell her that whatever she did is something she loved to do. So regardless of how it turns out in the future, you got to do something that you love to do, and you're mastering it.
It was a wonderful, brave act.
It was a watershed.
It was an illegal act.
March 6, 1971. Boston area women occupied 888 Memorial Drive, a former knitting factory owned by Harvard University, and proclaimed it a women's center.
Harvard had this big building, huge resource. We had no place to put a women's center. It seemed like the place to do it.
I remembered the fear of being photographed and the fear of using your real name.
Some people were afraid that I was a plant by the feds.
There was so much energy.
This great pleasures of being with women, dancing with women. But now people are taking it to a new level, sleeping with women.
Oh, so you don't have the guts to be a lesbian.
We have already begun to provide childcare, a health class, a karate class, an auto mechanics class, carpentry.
The police are gonna assault the building.
We had incredible power.
We were making history.
People think they're not powerful. They are powerful. Only if you come together.
Oh, my baby.
Mom, this is my girlfriend, Nick.
saw this and thought of you.
He's a good guy, yeah?
If you look around the world, the one thing that unites us is there is not a single culture, community, religion that can say violence against women, domestic violence, trafficking does not exist. It exists everywhere.
200 teenage girls were abducted by heavily armed men.
23-year-old woman in New Delhi was brutally gang raped on a bus.
So if the problem's gotten worse, clearly these strategies that we've been employing have not been working. So we need to think outside the box.
If I come to a community or to a school saying that I want to talk about domestic violence, people will not come. When you come and say that you will have a graffiti workshop, everybody wants to come.
These are weapons that people who have no formal political power can employ.
Art is one medium through which you can address issues. We all appreciate a good song, a beautiful painting. So the music of art is universal.
There's an incredible insight to be gained, to know that you can fight and overcome anything that is thrown your way.
The main reason is to test myself, to see what I'm capable of.
The story of why we're here and why we're doing it for breast cancer. You think life's too short and you really do have to live it, and that's why we're doing what we're doing.
154 days to go.
We haven't seen the sunshine in about a week.
You only have one life, so you might as well make the most of it. Jesus is huge!
The girls aren't going to break any records. They're actually going to establish records because this has never been done before.
The quote goes that you can never cross an ocean unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shore. And that's where your real achievements lie.
There's a battery fire and we lost the MPPT box.
I believe that everyone has their own Pacific to cross.
Is this your dream or mine?
Mine.
I think it's mine.
Maybe.
Are you crying?
I'm trying not to.